And welcome to this Wednesday edition of In Transit. Special In Transit today as our phone lines are open at 514-790-0800 with your questions about cars. Maybe you're looking at a couple of new vehicles. Maybe you're trying to find a reliable used one. We've got a man who's in the know with us this morning. George Eny from the Automobile Protection Association is with us. George, thanks so much for coming on today.
Good morning, Elias.
And as we wait for calls, I do have a question off the text line that I'll get to as well with you. But the first thing I want to start off with is the Quebec's anti-lemon protections, right? In the Consumer Protection Act. I've heard conflicting opinions, like, oh, this is a good move for consumers. I've heard some people dealing with a lemon of their own saying that the law doesn't go far enough. So let's talk about what's a lemon, what qualifies as a lemon, and if the current measures in the Consumer Protection Act, in your estimation, go far enough to protect consumers.
Well, let's even rewind more than that and say, why do you need a special section for lemons?
Mm-hmm.
Most retailers, if you're buying from a reputable retailer, take back defective goods. So that's really the source of the problem is the car makers never recognize or almost never recognize that they've sold you something that's just not fit. They'll offer you repairs. It's an open bar as far as going back to the dealer. There's no limit pretty much, but they're not willing to take the thing back that they made that never worked right. And that's why you ended up in the United States with the creation of lemon laws. And the idea was it was a form of three strikes and you're out.
Mm-hmm.
Where the car maker could no longer just say, well, I'm not taking it back. They were forced to do it under this particular legislation. The lemon laws in the US also required the car makers to support a separate sort of a court system, an arbitration system, where lemon law cases would be heard. And in some cases also required, if they lost, they required the car maker, the losing defendant, to pick up the tab for the plaintiff's lawyer. And that was the beauty. So there are lawyers who make a living doing lemon law cases.
Mm-hmm.
They developed expertise, and it didn't matter if the car maker wants to drag it out or make it longer or depose you or ask for other evidence. If they lose, and if it's determined that in fact the car was really a lemon, they're picking up the tab for all those costs. And that's the criticism in Quebec, is that you still have to get a lawyer for a lemon case. And even though your car might meet the threshold for a lemon on paper, it's that the beauty of a lemon legislation is it defines how many times they have had to try to fix your car or how many days it has to be off the road. So it should make your proof a lot easier to get. And once you reach that threshold, you ought to have the ability to return defective goods.
Do we have a threshold in Quebec? Like, is there, like you mentioned, three issues in the States on a lot of these laws. What's the threshold in Quebec?
3 strikes.
3 strikes. Okay.
Yeah. And it's 3 strikes in the first 3 years. So if I have 3 or more repair attempts for a significant problem, it's not going to be like a trim piece or something, and the vehicle still won't run properly, I'm in a position to ask them to take it back. Doesn't mean I have to. I might decide I'm going to give them another chance. But at some point, I'm able to, for a vehicle like that, say, look, you've crossed the line and I'd like to have the vehicle repurchased. The difficulty is that at this point, the car makers don't take it back, even if we've had vehicles off the roads for several months, and the car makers won't take them back. And in the other issue, of course, is that although we asked for it when the law came out, is that you're paying your lawyer whether you win or lose.
Yeah.
There isn't the ability to offload the costs. So that's why it's been criticized. But compared to having nothing, in other words, having the warranty laws as they were before, where you had to prove what's reasonably durable, or get an expert in to say what is the hidden defect. You can never get a mechanic. It's very difficult to get them to testify. The engineers mostly either work for Transport Canada or insurance companies or the car makers.
Yeah.
So they're hard to get as well and expensive for a car case. So this has made it simpler.
Better, but not perfect here. Let me throw a question at you because I know it's related to the lemon laws here. So I'll throw one question from the text line before I go to our phone lines. So Gray writes this. I was sold an absolute lemon from an actual dealership. I don't know where to start. I was sold the 2017 Buick Encore. It went into the garage on warranty with more repairs than the car was worth. Upon repairing the car, they broke it further. Now I owe years on financing on a piece of scrap metal. What do you say to Gray with his 2017 Buick Encore?
Well, in some cases, what we've had in situations like that is people don't want to hire a lawyer. It's too expensive. But they are able to sue for some damages in small claims court. They sell the vehicle at a loss, and then they sue for that. For a brand new vehicle, when you're in that kind of situation, you probably should lawyer up. And most of these cases don't go to court once they know that you're serious if the case is properly prepared. But it could take you a year or two to unwind the deal. In the
Ah,
meantime, if you're not driving the car anymore because it's a piece of junk, then you're going to have to find alternate transportation. And so that's where, your financial resources come into play. People who are not, who are stretched by their car payment and other payments often can't afford a second vehicle. So they're kind of stuck with this one, but there's still something you can do.
well, it means heading to the courts. And again, people have to weigh the time, the money versus how much they're out.
Well,
Uh,
small claims, you don't need a lawyer. So it's
mhm.
really the time and the effort to prepare your claim properly. To have, proper paperwork. One of the important things with the lemon law is to prove that you went back 3 times. You need to get a work order each time.
Ah,
Sometimes dealerships don't give them to you, the paperwork, if it's free repair. So you'd want that evidence. You also want to count your number of days off the road, because if you're off the road more than 30 days and they didn't give you a courtesy loaner, then that too gives you the privilege, if it's in the first 3 years, of asking for your money back.
okay, let's go to our phone lines here. I'll start off with Linda and DDO. Linda, you have a question about recall. What's your question for George?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for the show. It's fabulous. Um, I have a 2015 Honda Civic that really hasn't given me too much heartache, but I have a message that keeps coming on about to check the airbags.
Mm-hmm.
Has there
So that
been
would be
ever a recall on that?
well, Honda have had several airbag recalls. I don't know if they would apply to your model. Certainly, the
Mm-hmm.
older Hondas, their supplier actually sold defective bags for many years. Honda was one of the most effective and most affected, and those were mostly all changed. So you're looking at something newer. What I'm going to suggest, there's two ways you can do it. The easy way is probably the Transport Canada website. So do you have a computer at home?
Yes,
So you would
Canada
look
Transport
under Transport Canada, recalls database.
recall database.
Yep.
Okay,
And you'll get like a URL or a prompt, and then it's very easy to use. It's a very simple database, and it will show you if there is a recall.
okay.
Now, it won't tell you if your car is covered specifically. It will tell you the model year, not the actual whether your car was corrected or not.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, you can check on the Honda website using the VIN number. It's a little more complicated. Um, and it will tell you if there are open recalls or not. It doesn't give you as much detail as the Transport Canada, which is why I recommend it. Some car makers, it's just binary, yes or no, you have an outstanding recall.
Well, thank you so
Also
much.
possible, yeah, sorry. So the car is equipped by law with a self-monitoring system for the airbags.
Yes.
It's also possible that there's some electronic glitch, a connection that isn't so hot that is triggering that thing, that even without a recall, it may be you should have it looked at to make sure that the airbag would deploy properly.
Linda, are you the sole owner? You bought the car
Yes.
2015. You're
Yes.
the only one that's owned it.
Yes. Never had accidents.
George, would you say if she's the only owner and there's a recall, there should have been something in the mail for her? Or is that
Yes.
not necessarily the
Oh,
case?
no, absolutely.
Okay.
If you're the first owner and haven't moved since
Mm-hmm.
2015,
Correct.
then you would have received a notice in the mail.
Hmm.
In
Okay.
fact, you could have gotten even two or three, because Honda, for their airbag recalls, were very jumpy. There had been some deaths alleged in the U.S., not for
Oh.
your vehicle, older Hondas, 10 years
Mhm.
older. And they were, in the end, very diligent about trying to get to all
Mhm.
those cars.
Good
Uh,
to know.
Linda, thanks for your call. And like George said, I just did a Google search, Transport Canada recalls database. Boom, first link is the one that you need there. Okay, thanks for the call, Linda.
Thank you.
Taking your calls on cars with George Eny from the Automobile Protection Association. Let's kick off the second half here with Stephen in Montreal. Stephen says here you got a question about EV leases. Go ahead.
Hi, Elias. How are you?
Good, good. What's your question for George?
So the question is, we purchased a Ford Mach-E late December, and unfortunately, it's been in the shop for over 3 weeks now. The service is telling us it's an issue with the battery, but they can't figure it out. They're getting engineers to work on it from Ford Canada directly, but it's been a lot of back and forth with that, without any concrete answers. So just wondering if there's anything we could do, because we had an EV prior to this too, and we never had issues to this extent.
What was your previous EV?
It was a Tesla Model 3.
What do you say, George, with the issues with the Mach-E here?
I'm surprised because it's been out for a few years now. There were a lot of teething problems in the first 2 years. Ford have tried in the last year to improve the quality on a lot of their models. They've issued a lot of special programs, and they've contacted owners to try and bring improvements to the vehicles. Have they given you a loaner?
Yeah, fortunately they've given us a loaner, which is a Mach-E as well, which is driving perfectly fine. So, I mean, in my mind, it's unfortunately, hopefully we didn't get we didn't get handed a lemon, but fingers crossed. I'm just wondering if there's anything you could suggest of how to go about it. If they don't get back to us sooner and we don't resolve the situation within the next month.
Well, I'll give you a different way to look at it. Right now, you're putting miles on their Mach-E, so yours isn't getting
Right.
used.
Yeah,
In many cases, when people get a loaner, their $1,000 or $1,100 a month payment is getting them a Hyundai Elantra from Enterprise. So at least
right.
in your case, Ford gave you like for like. That's kind of favorable.
Yeah.
And I would just make sure you have a record when you go and pick the vehicle up eventually of the date that it went in and the date that it came out. So you check your work order and make sure that's documented. If you're
Okay.
over 30 days and it wasn't waiting for parts,
Mm-hmm.
then technically speaking, you might already qualify as a lemon, and you could just wait. You have 3 years to figure out whether the car is going to be a repeat problem or not. I'm hoping when you get something big like that at the beginning and it's one problem, particularly where the model has been out for several years, that you're probably not the only person to have it, and that they will eventually get to the bottom of it and make a durable repair. So I'm more optimistic in your situation, even though obviously your initial purchase experience is pretty bad because you haven't seen your brand new car for like a month.
Stephen,
Yeah.
Stephen, good luck, okay?
Thanks so much. All right.
All right, there's Stephen there. Let's go to Kelsey. He's got a question here about... Well, Kelsey, what's your question? You're buying a new car?
I'm looking at buying a 2026 Mitsubishi Outlander. Just a little nervous going into it. It's my first big car purchase. Wondering if there are known issues with Mitsubishis.
What do you say, George?
Mitsubishi products are pretty good. We
Okay.
don't have a lot of complaints as they get older. They come with a very strong warranty. I would say keep your service records because after the fifth year, they're the only one of the few companies that offer a warranty that's longer than 5 years. They go to 10 years. They want to see records that maintenance was done after the fifth year. The newer Outlander is basically built on a Nissan platform. Until recently, most Nissans were junk, but we have the hope that Mitsubishi contribution is the reliable part of the vehicle. So it's a good choice. Are you buying it because of the PHEV because you can plug it in?
No, honestly, I'm buying it just because I'm looking for a large SUV, and for the price range, it's one of the more affordable ones.
What is the price range, Kelsey, if you don't mind me asking? What does a brand new one cost nowadays?
So I'm looking just at the regular gas one, and it's about 38,000.
38
That would
grand.
be a basic one, then you're not going high up in the range.
No, just
Most
the
people
second.
choose them more equipped. Yeah, you're a value buyer. So, the only thing that I would suggest maybe that you compare it with is a Mazda. They tend to be a little more expensive.
Yeah.
They're very reliable right now, the CX-5.
Okay. Thank you.
Kelsey?
You're on the right track with that if you're trying to make an a less expensive purchase. And
Thank you
the
so
average vehicle in that class now, the way that people are equipping them, are close to $50,000, 45, 48. A RAV4, you're going to end up waiting many months for. The CRV will cost more than 38 as well. So you're right. You're in the right cross shop, the right place for a cheaper purchase.
Good luck, Kelsey, with the purchase, okay? Thanks so
Thank
much for
you
calling.
so much.
Kelsey right there. Scott in St. Hippolyte. Scott, you got to be quick. What's your question?
Okay, as the Communist Party of China state-subsidized electric vehicles start entering the Canadian market, the prices domestic manufacturers can't realistically match. What concrete safety verification standards will Canada enforce, such as in cybersecurity, battery fire requirements, and how will we independently verify compliance rather than relying on a foreign certification from a foreign government?
Scott, let me just get your Scott, thanks for the call. George, let me just get your take on the impending Chinese EVs. I mean, they were sold here 3 years ago. I should point that out before the tariffs came in. Do you have any concerns on new players like BYD entering the market or anything like that?
Well, to start with, the first vehicles that could come in would be Tesla
Yeah.
3s, a Buick, and a Lincoln that
Yeah.
we were already getting from China before.
Yeah.
And nobody was worried about spyware in those cars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what commitments our government will get. They're certainly going to ask for something. As to whether they can really enforce it, who knows?
Let's go over to Dave in Verdun. Dave, you got a question about a 2011 Civic. Take it away.
My girlfriend had that recurring pain issue, and there was a class action suit that was filed, and she was trying to get accepted into it, but they kept on denying. She's the only sole owner of that car, and despite all the attempts she tried to prove that she was the sole owner, she was rejected.
What kind of car? A Honda?
It was the Civic. I think it was 2010 or 2011. There was an issue with the paint peeling, so there was a class action suit.
It went on for years. It was a very big case, but very complicated to make a claim. It was not a very
almost impossibly
very
hard.
difficult.
So she gave up. She actually went to the SAQ to get the proof. Cost her $150, and they just said no. So I was very confused.
Yeah. So the thing to do is to bring those cases to the attention of the lawyers who acted for the plaintiffs. They have a duty to make sure that the distribution is done fairly. In Quebec, I think they actually tried. Outside of Quebec, the firms that settle class actions in Canada generally don't care. Once they get paid, they're not involved in whether the money actually gets to the customer.
But it did close. I think the ship has sailed, unfortunately. Just that we tried having her, she spent $150 and basically threw that money away, because even though it established the history that she was the only owner, they just said that's not sufficient. So
you could sue under the settlement and ask to have the settlement applied to your case. I'm assuming that if that's the only reason and it was a mistake, that before it goes to trial in small claims, they would offer you some money. But there could be other reasons. They had other they could refuse parts of claims for other reasons. It's a complicated process.
Yeah, no, I understand. She had the paint peeling. It made the car look quite ugly. Unfortunately, I scrapped the car about a year and a half ago in a crash.
Yeah, you don't have to still own it, because there was I don't know, maybe this scrapping changes things, because you didn't lose any money when you resold it because of paint. Was written off. I assume the insurance company didn't apply more.
It was one-way insurance, because that was our daycare car. It seemed kind of odd that she had done everything right from what we could establish.
You would have to sue.
Okay, at this point, it might be, like I said, might be moot, given that the car doesn't exist physically anymore. It's probably a cube.
You don't have to paint it. You didn't have to repaint. The case that dragged on so long, there was an understanding that you could take a reduced amount of money if you weren't going to repaint your car, and most people did. Surprisingly, that I was surprised, even people who could have got their car repainted often preferred the cash, even though it was a lesser amount.
you're basically going to cash that car anyways at some point. So I think that made the most sense. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
No problem, Dave. Thanks so much for your question. Thanks for everyone's question. Couldn't get to everyone today. George, we're happy to have you back here on In Transit on another day, okay? So great talking to you. Thank you so much for today.
That was fun. Thanks.
George Eny from the Automobile Protection Association, such a tremendous resource. We'll try and bring George back for another segment like this.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.